5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Weekend confirmed.
Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff.
Hey, welcome to Weekend Confirmed Question of the Week. My name is Garnett Lee. Glad to have you with us again today. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel right up here. We've got all kinds of stuff coming for you. Questions, pre-show videos, and more stuff coming up in 2012 for you. Here's at Saradin's question for this week, which is, when giving a score, how do you come up with a number? Is it based upon an ideal or a perfect game in that area for you? So, back at 1UP, when I was reviews editor, was when we launched the letter scale. So I've had a lot of experience dealing with different scales and review metrics. And as a matter of fact, we are very close to implementing a review score scale. That's a tongue twister, isn't it? Just watch The King's Speech, too, by the way. Great movie. You should totally check it out. But back to what we were talking about is that putting down numbers to games is a very difficult challenge because everyone has a different set of perceptions of what those numbers mean. So, for instance, at 1UP, we switched to a letter grade system, and right off the bat, everyone wanted to compare those letters to numbers. And this introduced a big problem because we knew what we were trying to say, which was that, hey, a C, like you got in school, is a passing grade. An A is excellent, B is right in between, D's getting down there, and if you're F, well, you failed. And we thought everyone's going to understand this, right? The challenge was that everyone didn't seem to understand it because there's no clear agreement between whether a 5 or a 7 is the acceptable okay for a game. And I say that instead of average because, look, average is a numerical thing where we add a bunch of string of numbers together and divide by the number that we had in there and get an average, and that has nothing to do with the idea of average as a definition of, well, it's okay. So back to the thing about assigning scores. At the top end, there's no reason to have a 10 if you don't ever give a 10. There's no such thing as a perfect game. These are all very subjective things in the first place, and if you've been following Shack News over the 2.5 years I've been operating it, you know that the editorial philosophy we have here is about critiquing games and talking about the content and what's in them and not trying to break them down into component pieces and say, well, the graphics in this game are a 7.7 and the sound in this game is a 6.5, because that's a bunch of nonsense and it's difficult to follow up on anyway, with all due apologies to other outlets that might follow those approaches. Anyway, the point being that what happens is I ask that authors, himself included, when we write a review, if we're going to score system, that you not concern yourself with ascribing a score to it, that you review the game, that you critique the game, and then we go through it and say, based off what you've written here, based off your feelings about this game, what's the right score for it? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, you're going to know what it is, especially as an experienced person in this business. You've done a lot of this before. You've written a number of reviews. You know that this is where this game scored. This is where that game scored. You're able to build this continuum of games and scores that you have out there. And you say, here's where this one falls for me. And on those outside occasions when they don't, then we all put our heads together as an editorial team, work with the author. And of course, ultimately, the author of a review has to be the arbiter of what that score is. It's their review. It's their score. And we just try to make sure that whatever's written in the review is reflected in the score and vice versa. You can't have a glowing review and then stick a stinker of a score on there, and vice versa. You can't put a 9 or 9.5 on a game and then have a copy that reads like, well, here's all the flaws with the game. So there's no magical formula. There's nothing wrong with giving a 10. There's nothing wrong with giving a low end, and it's something that very much reflects the experience and editorial direction of every site as to how they score their games. Thanks for your question, Ceridian. Hope you will keep up with us, and don't forget to catch the show every Friday at 11 a.m. on iTunes or your favorite RSS feed.